Welcome to Truth and Transcendence. You can find all our other episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. So today I'm delighted to welcome special guest Harry Lloyd, who's here to talk about many things, but we're going to start by talking about connectedness, which Harry has a very particular connection with. Harry, also known as Waiting for Smith, has traveled across Cuba for 2 months on a motorbike and learned to play the maraka. He moved to Paris, learned French and became a ski instructor, learned Russian, broke his back, died for 5 minutes, came back to life, realized he wanted to do music, struggled with mental health and thoughts of not wanting to be here, moved to Amsterdam, learned Dutch and healed those struggles, took a break in South Africa for 4 months in pursuit of happiness and healing, and returned full of joy. At which point Harry realized he wanted to make music for people like all of us to feel more joyous, free, light, and loved. And having listened to a little bit of Harry's music this morning as an antidote for being in a bad mood about the latest communication from my dentist, which people in the UK will understand, I am here to say his music is extremely uplifting and beautiful. You can find Harry at waitingforsmith.co.uk. So, Harry, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Catherine. What a lovely introduction. It's very, very lovely.
Thank you. Well,
my compassion this morning is with you, with your dentist experience. Tell me all about it. We all have these struggles, and sometimes it's funny, isn't it? You can just have those moments where you're like, I'm not going to let this ruin my day. I'm just not going to let it ruin my day. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But if you can manage not to make it ruin your day, then you're just winning, just ahead of the curve.
100%. And I think that's exactly the right way to approach it, because as I was saying just before we started, we can reach that point where we think, oh, I've made it now. I've handled my life. I'm not going to get these nasty surprises and go into a horrible, reactive, resentful ego space. And then suddenly something happens. You go, oh my God, I've slid right back down the snake, that old game of snakes and ladders. I've just slid all the way back down the snake when I thought I was doing really, really well. So, and then I thought, thank God I'm seeing Harry this morning, because that will lift me.
It's, yeah, like I was saying before we started, it's so often that you get a moment where you think, right, I'm absolutely crushing this now. I know where I'm at. Like, I've got my practice. I'm feeling good. You're like skipping along the street. You're like, I finally found peace. And then it's at that moment that you're like, something happens and you have to take a decision to go, okay, cool. I'm still learning. That's fine. That's completely, of course I'm still learning. That would be ridiculous to think I figured it all out, or to be like annoyed at the fact that you've just like tripped over again. But it's kind of like, it's a big game, and like when we can see it and we can be light with it and we can play with it a little bit with our lives, with the lighter stuff, obviously the heavier stuff has another thing. But I feel, yeah, we have a choice. We have like a choice in the moment to be like, okay, am I going to choose this direction, or am I going to choose that? Like, and I found just really recently, I've been having that a lot in my head, where I've been having a really clear choice. I've just become a father to a little girl, and she's 9 months, and sometimes and it's an interesting balance of unconditional love, complete outpouring of just like, I would do anything for you, and then of course you're in the middle of the night and you haven't slept for days and days, and your mind is being like, oh, I'm feeling so bruised from this. This is so tired. I don't know if I can carry on. And then you're like, no, I can't, because I'm going to make a choice right now to just look at her and be like, wow, she's not going to be this young forever. She's going to at some point be a fully grown human and be telling me about her life and her thoughts and ideas. And this is just a moment. And if I can choose to make that moment enjoyable by the choice of what I've chosen to focus on, then the world's your oyster. Like, you can do anything from that place, I think.
Yeah, beautiful. And
Yeah.
and in relation to your daughter, it's great that she's born into this situation where her parents are connected with that sort of exploration, because that's going to help her perhaps be a little bit ahead of the game when she starts to, engage with life in that way, which is,
I hope so.
and as you were saying, your sense and my sense as well is that there's more, that sort of thing is getting more and more common.
Yeah.
um, you were talking about, you bump into, in my case, the guy who delivered the logs. He had a bad back, and I said, "Oh, what have you done?" He said, "Well, my friend does this kind of faith healing thing. I don't understand it, but I just lie down and she does this thing with her hands and it makes it much better. I completely don't understand it, but I'm going back next week." You know, and you look at him and he looks like, a lumberjack, which basically is what he is.
Yeah.
And, big burly bloke. And people are like, yeah, there's more going on here than just the linear way of thinking.
Yeah, there's an explosion of it at the moment. Like I feel that we're in a kind of, we had a first phase of consciousness kind of awakening, especially over the period of COVID, and all of us were having to question a lot of things that we thought we were taking for granted, and we thought that was just like a given. And suddenly all of that stuff is taken away, and you're feeling like, okay, who am I, and what's my relationship to my family, and what am I going to do with my life? Well, like, what is life? How do people live? Are people dying? Are they, all these crazy questions, which a lot of people were not questioning at all. And I felt like that hugely burst onto the scene. It's a massive explosion of consciousness. And I feel at the moment, even in such a short period of time, we're in a second wave of it right now. And that second wave is like your Uncle Jim, who was, only last year, like coming to Christmas completely out of his mind drunk, is now gone, actually, alcohol's not serving me any longer. And you're going, but Jim, you love a whiskey. I don't understand. That was like your identity. And he's like, you know what? Sometimes I do, but I'm really trying this new thing called Tai Chi. I've really taken to it. And you're like, what? Uncle Jim? Like, who are you? Come on board. But I find that that's happening. Like your lumberjack, the guy that provides your logs, he's turning up and telling you about faith healing for his back. And you're like, I just wasn't having those conversations 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So like something's changing. And that gives me, despite what's going on in the world, that gives me so much good feeling and good energy to wake up to and go like, okay, there's something shifting here. All we can do is stay positive. All we can do is control our own output. That's the only thing you can really have proper control over.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. So this notion of connectedness that we talked about in the pre-call, and you had a particular kind of connection with that, because I was saying to you, what is it about you that has kind of helped you to navigate all these things that have happened in your life in the way that you have? What is there something that's really, really important to you? And you were talking about kind of connection between humans, but there was something about that you had a particular take on that I thought was really interesting. So would you like to just kind of freewheel around that in terms of what, connectedness means to you?
Yeah, I think so something I was reflecting on this morning actually was, before this, was you know I started music many years ago, maybe 10 years ago now, where I started doing it kind of full time. And I had the same dreams as everyone else, pretty much in music. You want to get known, you want your songs to be heard, you want, hopefully one day you have the dream of playing a stadium and you hear the crowd chanting, and a lot of people have that dream. It's a very shared dream. And then about 4 years ago, I went to South Africa, because my girlfriend at the time, my now wife, had a big connection with South Africa, and we went there, ultimately to take a break. Like I took a breather from music because I'd had this big period of mental health and a lot of struggle with it, and I felt tired. Like I felt really wounded, and like I needed a break. I needed to literally like just lie down and just heal from this crazy experience I'd had. And I'd come out the other side it, and I landed in South Africa, and I remember meeting the first person. We literally got into Cape Town. We drove to this little town called Scarborough, which is about an hour away from the airport. And, you know, people are walking around barefoot. It's super chill there. You can hear the beach in the background, and very relaxed, very, very calm and peaceful. And I come to this cafe, and I see this guy, and he has really like thick, perfect black curly hair, and he has radiant, like piercing blue eyes. And I was just like, whoa, like that's a very like an alive man. Like he looks strong. He looks like a kind of looks like he could hold himself in a fight, but like incredibly loving. But that was my immediate feeling when I saw him. I had started talking to him, and I met him, and we had a great chat and stuff. And then I remember we moved away, and I think we walked on, and we came to like the place where we were staying, and we were getting unpacked. And I met another person like that, and another girl, and then the people in the cafes also were like that. I was like, what the hell? Like, what's going on? Like, these people are they feel so alive. They feel so vibrant. Like they're almost the sense you get from a newborn child. They had that energy, you know, and something in me immediately was like, wow, this is so special. Like if I can somehow bring this energy home in some form, and I didn't know yet I would put it into my music, but as long as I can bring that home, if I can just bring that to my family, bring that to my friends, my community, like we need that here. We need that level of kind of optimism and that aliveness. And through that period, probably about 4 months, we took time off in South Africa, and really the only point of it was to just become happier, to just do things that made us happy. Nothing more than that. We were completely paused on work and everything, and so we went to festivals, and we went to dance, and we did breath work, and swam in the ocean, and we hiked up mountains and drunk water straight from the waterfalls. And I mean, the most beautiful things. Saw sunsets over the Cedarburg Mountains, and I then started writing these songs through that period. And what I noticed about the songs that started coming out was that they all had a completely different message. And the message before that was very much of there were some messages of heartbreak. There were some messages of like, if we keep going, we'll make it, of loss, which I had experienced a lot of before. But these new messages, they felt like they were also they were speaking to me as well, and saying, hey, you know, if you make a decision and you choose to make and create happiness and liveliness and joy around you, and with the things that you eat and the things that you breathe, and you know, the stuff that you do, then your life will become better. It will become more rich, like these people that I kept meeting. And so, like, bring it full circle back to connection, that has now become really the mission of Waiting for Smith, is to make people, even in a you know, a little club in London where maybe people have had a really terrible week, they've experienced all sorts of things, you know, you don't know what people are going through, but to come into a space for an hour and to feel that in that space they're truly alive, they have the ability to express themselves, to potentially let go of something that was holding them back, to sing, to dance, to meet other people. You know, I do this thing in this song, I Like Life, where I which is not on the songs I wrote from South Africa, but it's a more poppy kind of groove song. It was meant for the radio, and I split the audience down the middle, like a sort of like a wave, like two waves on either side, and I get them to turn to each other. And I get the audience to say like, I like life. And then the other side goes, do you like life? Uh-huh. And they do it back to each other like this, right? And this kind of tennis match of connection. And it's awesome. It's awesome to experience, especially with a bigger crowd. And you see them go back and forth, and they're kind of they're thinking on like, I like life. Do you like life? Oh, what does that mean? What do you mean? Do I like life? Or I'm alive? Do I like, what even is that question? But in the kind of singing and the thinking about it and the coming together, you start to see people that weren't really moving around start to move a little bit, and they start to create a little thing, and everyone comes together, and I get everyone almost touching. And then I say, okay, now make a connection with someone that you never met before. And so there's this amazing thing that happens, and it's so simple, but like you'll see people start to just cross the path, and there'll be like someone on the other side will just give someone else a hug, or there'll be a high five, or there'll be a wink or a handshake or whatever. And it's extraordinary because I feel it on stage as well, where I feel, oh yeah, we are the same thing. We come from the same source. We come from the same place, whatever that is, whether you call that God or you call that universal consciousness, connectivity, nature. It feels like we're all from the same place. And what I like at live shows is seeing that come into action and seeing people have that realization and going, oh shit, I thought the guy over there who looks like a punk with tattoos was different than me because he looks different and he's a different age and he's a man. But I suddenly feel really like I have a lot of love for the guy. And whenever I get a chance to do that at a show, I feel like, okay, this has been successful. Like that's the success for me now. And if I play stadiums with that mission, then so that's fantastic. But if I don't, but I still manage to carry on doing that, then that will make me happy because I can see that it helps other people. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I just imagined being in that audience when you did that, and it just felt like a beautiful experience. Now, that's a very creative thing to do. What you're doing there is you're creating a kind of meditation. It's a live meditation.
Yeah.
People, movement, and song as well. So it's a very multi-layered meditation that you're inviting people to drop into. That's quite a skillful thing to do as well. How did you know how to do that? How did you learn how to do that?
I think I draw on lots of influences from lots of people. So I look outside music. I'm really influenced by people like Tony Robbins, by Deepak Chopra, by Oprah Winfrey, Super Soul Sunday, by Eckhart Tolle, by the thinkers and the philosophers of our time. I find them fascinating, and they all talk about that now. They all talk about connectivity. It's all from the same place, and the power of the mind body connection and all of this stuff. And then I saw other people, and I watched a lot of live shows, and I remember even seeing at one point, I think that I like life thing, the seed idea came from seeing one of my friends. He's called Hugo Hamlet. He's just actually, yeah, he's so I've known Hugo for a while. I don't know him super well, but he's really good friends with my friends. So we hung out a little bit, and a couple of nights we played piano together and stuff like that. And just before we did the Raised Up tour, I think I saw a video of his before he had really blown up on social media. He's now absolutely skyrocketed his social media. Like a lot of people know about his work. But before that, he had done a video of just him in Paris. And I think he got the audience to say to each other, like, I love you, or something like, I love you. And then the other side said, I love you too. And I remember seeing that and I thought, that's fucking amazing.
I've actually seen that video.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very powerful.
It's very powerful. And I saw that and I thought, that's fucking amazing. And of course, Hugo, I'm sure, found that from someone else. And I think he studied at Jacques Lecoq, and he did the School of Mime. He's a trained mime artist, so he knows how to move his body and all that kind of stuff. So he knows how to entertain. And I remember seeing that, and it was just before I was doing the Raised Up tour, which were the songs that I wrote in South Africa. and was just about to go on this tour. And I saw that video, and I messaged him and I said, man, you have to come on the Raised Up tour. You have to open for us in London, because this is exactly the energy that I want to create. And then, long story short, I had to get back to him and say, sorry, at the time, my management really wanted me to put on another artist who were supported by Live Nation, and I was doing something with Live Nation. And so there was the kind of diplomacy of like, I kind of have to do that. But still, in my heart of hearts, I wish I'd had Hugo instead of this other band, because he was perfect alignment. And literally within a few weeks after that happened, it just went through the roof, like his stuff. And I have found that to be actually quite common. I have worked with a lot of people, and we've done stuff together. And literally, I say that to sometimes when I book players, I'm like, you guys will probably become more successful than me in about a month. So I just want to say it, but just remember who I am, and just, if there's any opening slots, I'm going to open for you. Like another guitarist I play with, he literally had a gig, and he was like, do you mind if I take other gigs? And I was like, yeah, no worries. And he told me, yeah, it's going actually really well. And, you know, I think they really want me to go on tour, and they want me to do the thing. And then he told me it was Dua Lipa. And then he went and played Glastonbury main stage. So, so I'm always like, what's going on? What am I missing in my own project here that I need to be tapping into to get there where what they're doing? But I don't mind. But I'm so grateful for those people that they found their success and found their thing. But I would love Waiting for Smith to be that successful in that way, because I believe that it really helps people. Like, I see the difference in people when they come to live shows, and I, you know, get a lot of messages from people that the music has generally helped them out of really, really difficult times. And that for me is the kind of, is my my medicine, to see that it helps others. I fucking love it. I don't know why I love that so much, but I just do.
Well, I love it. I love your music too. So, as I was listening, and you were saying, because you mentioned a little while back about that you used to have this dream of being in the stadiums and all the big, the big
Yeah.
showings, and then that shifted into these new messages coming through, and this new mission for Waiting for Smith. And it does strike me those are two different missions, aren't they?
Yeah.
And your music, although it is very easy to listen to, in the sense that it's very pleasant and enjoyable to listen to, I also feel like it's something that people have to be ready for. Some people are just not going to get it if they're they're not ready for it. So, I think in a way, I feel like you can either go for meaning or you can go for mass appeal. I don't think.
Yeah.
Primarily, I think they're two different missions. I don't know. What do you think about that?
It's a great question. It's something I've pondered on a lot, because I sometimes feel like, oh, well, if I just put all my most painful work out there, then that will surely be more successful quicker. If I think about like a song for Grace, which I love that song. It's a beautiful song. You should check out if you haven't heard it. And it's a song I wrote when I was 17. It got picked up by a publishing company, and it had so many syncs. Like, it's had maybe 3,000 syncs or something on, and it got a big one on Netflix on a series called Vis a Vis. And that song is about losing my first proper girlfriend in a car accident. It was, it's painful. It was so painful at the time. But people relate to that pain. And I think what I'm trying to do with Waiting Smith in the next project is I'm trying to find the balance between mass appeal and that spiritually inclined, basically optimistic message, and seeing if they can blend, but also not to forget the fact that we also experience a lot of pain. And, and how to put that into a way of like saying, hey, I've also felt these things too, and I know that you're feeling them as well. But come on board. Let's transform this pain into something that's going to be helpful for us and helpful for the other people around us. At the moment, I'm basically focusing on a lot of releasing, So I'm planning to release like in a series, like one after the other, like about 35 tracks, basically like 3 albums of work. And that's what I hope, is that it could maybe cross into the mainstream, but the mainstream always starts from a place of indie. It always starts from a place of left. Like, you always think, or I think the public who maybe aren't in the industry will think that someone like a Dua Lipa or someone like a Rag and Bone Man or an Ed Sheeran they were just Ed Sheeran, and they just like appeared and that they were like fully formed and stuff. But you know, if you think about Ed Sheeran's career, he was doing like collaborations with grime artists, and he was really almost like in that like hip hop scene, and just him and a guitar, and Jamie Foxx discovered him, and because I think he played to an audience of he was the only white guy in the whole place, but he made the room just like ripped up the room, and Jamie Foxx was like, that guy's got something. So yeah, I'm looking for that. I'm looking to tap into that as well, but I haven't yet found that, but I feel like there is the possibility for it. But I agree with you. Often it can be quite apart. Like if you look at an artist like Nick Mulvey, who I really, really love his work as well. Now he's really successful in his own right. He does great tours. He's got good listeners on the platforms and everything. But it's not like you'd say to everyone, "Hey, have you heard of Nick Mulvey?" Not everyone will know his stuff. So yeah, and he's a spiritual man, and really, I think, promotes such a beautiful message in his lyrics that are incredible. But I think conscious, awake, positive, not necessarily has to be positive, but honest music will be the future. But I think it's coming. I think it's around the corner, and that's what I'm very interested in at the moment, is to try and be like one step ahead a little bit, like to try and be like, okay, how could I make a live show where people come in and they are, in an hour, they're so like blown away that they think like, oh my God, like maybe I should try this, or maybe I should try that. That's what I'm really working on at the moment. I've got a few ideas that I'm building towards. But yeah, that really excites me. I love the idea of tapping into something, maybe something fresh that people aren't doing so much of, and being part of a movement or something. That would be cool.
Beautiful. I love that. So
Yeah.
from what you're saying, it sounds like your whole relationship with your music is both very personal to you and a kind of growth journey for you,
Yeah,
whilst at the same
100%.
time is your gift, your contribution. I mean, in one of the spiritual practices I've worked with for years, there's this idea that we each have a mission on earth, and that mission has two parts. One part being our own growth and development, and the other part being our contribution, and that both parts are equally important.
So
So
true.
in the way you've described your music, you've got both of those side by side in alignment with each other. So no
Yeah.
wonder you're enjoying it so much, because you're not fighting inside yourself. You're not sort of chasing something that you don't believe in, and
No.
sacrificing something you do believe in, which is very, very inspiring in and of itself. And I'm sure that feeds in, because the quality of your voice in your music is full of light. There's a whole, it's well supported. Your voice is well supported, but it's filled with light as well. And listening to it, there's this energy coming into me that I could choose to resist, or I can choose to receive, which is lovely.
That's so nice. That makes me super happy. I feel like the next stage for my records is to find some of the stuff I do live and put that into the recording, so that they're, how you were saying that maybe some people aren't ready for that, or I feel like if I put some of that live energy in, because it's a little bit more raw, it's got a rawer element to it, I feel like it will pull more people in. Because of course, yeah, you don't want to hear that weather gets better if you let light in. You don't want to hear that on a day where you're just like everything's going wrong, and you've just been caught up, you're stuck in traffic, and you might just turn that off. That would be annoying.
Mm.
So that's what I'm trying to find a way to help more people, to access more people from different types of things. Like I had a show the other day for Record Store Day in the Netherlands, and it was such a mixed crowd. And there were people at the back drinking beer, and there was some younger girls at the front, and it was really good. And I noticed the guys who looked like they were in an old Dutch rock band, who normally wouldn't smile, enjoying it as much as the 16-year-old girl at the front. And that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested to like break down those barriers. So it should be music for all people, from wherever you're from, whoever you are, but it can still remain cool in that way, that it's cool to be and to choose to live more fully. Like how could that not be cool? You're basically choosing your best self. Like, and so if you can appeal to as many different types of people, that for me is really interesting. And how to do that, I still haven't cracked that yet, but it's definitely starting. I can feel it starting, that's always really exciting when you see that. And when you see someone at a live show that you're like, I don't know who you are. Like I've never seen you, and somehow you're singing these words that are obviously important to you. And that's such a blessing to see that, because I'm like, well, they were important to me too, and they still are. I listen to my own music to help me feel better. So that's amazing that someone else resonates with it as well. Like I still find that extraordinary. That's still an incredible feeling to see that. Like it's like surreal. It's really surreal, actually.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Well, and I just reminded me of something, that song, I Like Life. Do you like life?
Yeah.
I saw a video of you doing that where you're in a supermarket, and you're
Oh yeah,
sort of dancing and singing in the supermarket, and behind you there's people sort of wandering around in a daze buying food in the usual I'm in a supermarket, I hate life sort of mode, you know. And I thought that's so interesting. You've got, you're just doing your thing, right?
that position. Yeah.
And any one of those people could look up and look at you and join in, or could just carry on in the mode.
Yeah.
So that's something about, you put your thing out, and the people who it touches, and maybe next time it touches a few more people, and as it goes. I thought that was rather nice. It had that sort of
It's cool.
thing
I
going
like
on.
I like that. It's nice that you reminded me about that, because I was speaking to the videographer who did like a lot of my touring stuff, called Gio. And we've had a great time together on tour, and we have a good energy when we create. He's a very high energy guy too. And we did like a I Like Life music video, but we're kind of missing a scene to it, and we were trying to work out what it was. And I think maybe a few supermarkets would be really fun, just because it's real, and the video is real, so it's just people walking around, but me just doing my thing. And there's something good about that in this day and age, that yeah, to be unashamedly yourself. That's a hard word. Fucking hell. To just be yourself, no matter what other people are doing. And that's something I still am learning all the time. Although I have no problem going in and dancing in a supermarket, or going up to someone on the street and asking them like, hey, how's your life going? Like, I have no problem with that. That doesn't make me scared. But I still, sometimes I'm like, oh, can I do that? Should I? Oh, you have those thoughts, and everyone has those thoughts. We're all so tightly packed, because we've been taught that we have to be that, to be loved, and to be enough, and to be accepted by our societies. And it's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. And we need more freedom. We need more spaces where people can be free. And that's why I still think live music is so important. I still think like going out to dance festivals, these kind of things, and even just talking to strangers, like to go to just be at your bus stop, and rather than be scrolling, just strike up a conversation and see what happens. Sometimes it could amaze you. And I love doing that still, talking to strangers. That's something I really got from my dad as well. My dad is good at that. He likes it too, although he's much more socially shy than I am.
I still remember the first time I met your father
Yeah.
at the QI club in Oxford. And I was shown into the club because I was wandering around outside, and there was someone at the door. I said, "Do you do food?" And he said, "Are you a member?" And I said, "A member of what?"
Yeah.
He said, "I think you'd better come in and meet the Johns." Some John and John Mitchison. And they turned to me, they were both holding large glasses of red wine, and said, "Huh,
Sounds about right.
are you quite interesting?" And I said, "I don't know." They said, "Well, come and have a chat and we'll decide, because that's what this club is about."
I love that. Oh, good.
That was in 2005.
It's amazing. That was an incredible. Yeah, they had an incredible little sort of collective of people that were gathering together to discuss ideas, and those spaces are so important. I feel like I was really blessed with that. Like I grew up with that. I grew up with a really social household. I grew up with a lot of, because as you know, my dad John he's in comedy, and he's done a lot of writing and done a lot of beautiful things in comedy, made a lot of people laugh. And so I grew up with comedians, like always in the house, like, and then people were just laughing. And yeah, of course there was probably a lot of smoking and drinking and and staying up late and stuff. But it was so energizing to have these people that were out there, just going out. They were going out to make people laugh. Like, and a lot of them in their private life were actually like quite, they had their troubles. They were actually sad. They struggled with depression, but still what they chose to do for their living was to go out and make people piss themselves laughing. And I always thought that was so inspiring, to be surrounded by that, and to see that it's possible to do what you love, or to do something that you care about. Like that's a hugely beneficial thing for a child to take on, as so many people, majority of the world, don't have that. You have to go out, you have to earn money to live, and you do something that's either in your family trade or your nearest vicinity, or you go study, or your parents are doctors, or they wanted to be doctors, so they pressure you to be a doctor, and all of these constructs and stuff. But to simply have the freedom to say, hey, I think you're pretty good at that. Like, why didn't you go do that? Or because, all of these people around you are doing what they love, so you might as well do that too. That's really special, and I think really rare. I thought that was more normal, and then I got to school, talked to other people. I found out what other people's dads did, mums, and was like, oh shit, people are a lot of people doing what they actively hate. They're just trying to survive, and that's yeah, that starts so young. Like, I'm also really interested in education. I love to one day, let's say when rather than if, when Waiting Smith is a globally successful idea or concept, I'd love to put some money into education. That was based more on a freer approach, a more like a Steiner or a Waldorf kind of educationary system, because I think the way to really change the world and to move us into another stage of consciousness is to change the way that people are educated. If we could change the base level, then that would change everything. It would change everything.
Yeah, well, I think you're in very good company there, because there are more and more people putting energy into that sort of thing now. And there are these amazing, summer camps and people who go into schools and do work in schools, or very, very forward-thinking people actually running schools in various places, that where it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
So we're about to start running out of time. So I'm much so. It's so lovely talking to you, Harry. I feel much better about my dentist situation now.
Cool, but as long as we've just done that, we've overcome the dentist.
We've become the dentist. So, couple of just closing questions. So one is, You are obviously very connected into making this contribution in the world.
Yeah.
And you've been on this path, and you've obviously learned a lot, and it's helped you in your own growth as you've gone along. But you've learned a lot about that process.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say to other people who are, in their own way, really invested in a mission of contributing to consciousness raising and helping the world with its evolution? Because some of those people are listening to us on this episode. So is there something you'd like to say to those people?
I think I'd just like to say, like, thank you basically for doing that, because yeah, I think the more people that are doing that, the more chance we have of finding a more peaceful world. And that's just a beautiful vision. Like, who doesn't want to share in that vision? And I'd also say that if you're, I don't think you're ever too, like, if you've just begun that journey, it can seem really overwhelming. I think if you're just at the beginning of it, not to people, some people are probably in their stride and they're just flourishing and they know where they're going, and that's fantastic. But there'll be people that are right at the beginning, or they'll be thinking, oh, maybe should I go for that? And I would just say to you, like, definitely go for it, and trust that things find a way of helping you out that you maybe couldn't have even imagined. But when you start to go into that and you start to really set the intention to go towards that, magical things will happen, like stuff that you won't. You'll be like, oh, what? That can't have happened. You'll really be pulled towards a sense of guidance. You'll feel that there's a guidance pulling you through. And I would say just keep doing that. And if you're searching or you feel stuck, just keep looking, because the things that I've tried, talking therapy, EMDR, CMDR, ayahuasca, mushrooms, journaling, writing, walking in nature, songwriting, collective dance, festivals, talking to strangers, going up and doing stand-up comedy for 30 shows for 5 minutes, trying to make people laugh, terrified to absolutely fail, embracing failure over and over and over and over again. When there's so much in this world to experience, and there's so many different access points and so many different keys. So you don't have to write yourself off at this stage. Just believe that it will happen, and break it down as simple as one step at a time. Just that's what I tell myself all the time, because sometimes I get overwhelmed with the amount of ideas that are coming through, or trying to balance family life and other things. And just break it down into bite-sized chunks. Just do one thing. Get yourself feeling good. It's what Tony Robbins says. Get yourself in state, raise your arms, whatever it is, dance, make yourself feel good, go for a walk in nature. And when you're feeling in a good state, then take action, and then just do that again, and just keep doing that. And you do that 300 times in a row over a space of a year, you'll be blown away by where you are.
Lovely, thank you. Final question, Harry. We've talked about a lot today, which I knew we would, but I didn't know exactly where it was going to go. Has there been a favorite part of our conversation for you today?
I think, well, I'm really glad that you're in a better state of mind. That for me, it's an amazing thing. That's amazing. I just think your presence, and just I'm happy to talk for forever. I know that about myself. I can just go, but I just want to thank you for just how you holding the space to allow, like, me to just flow with it, and to just really truly listen and take genuine interest. And that for me has been the most beautiful thing. Just you continually coming back to being present with what we're talking about. That's a real gift. So yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you. And thank you so much for everything you've shared, and your presence as well, and the gift that you're giving with your amazing music. I'm just going to remind everyone where to find you, which is waitingforsmith.co.uk, and the album is Raised Up. if I've got that correctly. Oh, look, there it is.
That you can see it in the light. Yeah.
You're also unfairly photogenic, Harry, which is just completely unfair.
Oh, thank you.
But helpful for your brand.
All the sweet potato I'm eating.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for watching and for listening. Do check out my other episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. Go and check out waitingforsmith.co.uk. And if you want to find out more about my other work, go to beingspace.world. So thanks again, Harry, very, very much.
See you later. Bye.